Okay, so the fact is most people are delivering fairly well right now, but in truth, the numbers, and numbers don't lie, and it's a phrase I've used before and I'm going to use it again, but in truth, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. However, no one's really entitled to their own numbers or their own data. And what happens is numbers are good compared to what? So when you're looking at the actual numbers that you have for your deliveries, on average, it's still about half of the tank. If you go back and you look at your numbers, and it's industry-wide, we found this from all the testing that we did, from the surveys that we did, from the study that we did, the average delivery is about a half a tank. So saying that your deliveries are pretty good, we're not saying otherwise, they are pretty good. The question is, how much better can they be? Because in the world that's trying to become more efficient, as it is more uncertain, because there's a lot of changes, obviously, that have gone on in the world most recently. So with the changes in the world and with the historical fact that pretty good might not be good enough, it's not us saying whatsoever that what you've done in the past is bad. It was always based upon the information that was available at the time. What we're suggesting is that there's more information available right now and the numbers can actually be better. Not that yours are bad, but it could be better. The truth is everybody's spending more time on Ks right now because you have to. Ks have become, Ks are simple math, as we've discussed many times before, but basically you're looking at a situation where you're trying to make deliveries based upon where the heating degree of these are relative to your tank size, relative to the burn. Very, very standard, very, very simple. Working on Ks doesn't really mean all that much. It just means that you're looking at it more closely, or maybe you're making some adjustments as things go along because the back office system is programmed correctly so to adjust the Ks over a period of time as opposed to delivery by delivery. You want to stay away from delivery by delivery because things change. There are short-term changes in actual usage patterns, and the back office system is really structured correctly so to not overshoot or undershoot when they see a change. So it happens over time. So when someone says they're looking at their case closely, two things come to mind. Number one is, what are you actually accomplishing by looking at them? You're looking at them very closely, that's great. What's being accomplished by looking at it? The second thing, which is the broader thing that we look at, is that nothing that we have come up with, this is not rocket science, it's not brain surgery, whatever term you want to use. It's not the smartest thing in the whole world. What we're doing is we're taking what you've normally done, your history, your experience, and we're automating it. That's really what we're doing because everyone can do better. If they had unlimited time, an unlimited number of people, an unlimited amount of energy, they can all run their businesses better. But what happens is that's not taking advantage of any of the technology that's out there right now. So our suggestion is not that you're not looking at your case, or not that you're not doing better, or that you can't do better than you are. I would ask the question, if all these things are available to you, they've been available to you, why aren't you doing better right now? And it's not a complaint, it's not a knock. You have a business to run. So what we're looking at is we're trying to take the logic that you have of looking at Ks differently, looking at tank sizes differently, looking at the weather forecast, looking at similar sized tanks that live next door to each other, homeowners that live next door to each other with similar sized tanks, and they have different burning rates. All of these things make sense. What happens is that the time and effort, can you do it on your own? Maybe. Can you do it for 20 customers, 50, 100, 300? Can you do it for thousands? I'm not quite sure that you can do that manually, even if someone's looking at this full time. But ultimately, even if you can, and even if it's a smaller group, the notion of automating it, the notion that it's done for you, gives you one less thing to worry about and gives you more time to concentrate on running your business. We all have too many things going on. You have too many things going on. I have too many things going on. Your father or your uncle or your grandfather, your grandmother, whoever started the business, everyone always has too many things going on. If we don't have enough going on, we're not happy. If we don't have enough things going on, we have this crazy feeling that we have too many people working for us. Everybody should be busy all the time. So yes, you have a lot of things going on, and you definitely have initiatives. There are initiatives. There are truck initiatives. There are HR initiatives. We all have lots of initiatives. But when I look at, frankly, when we hear we have other things going on, what that says to us, honestly, is that maybe we haven't done a good enough job explaining the power of what we're trying to do. Because if you found something that could make you a bunch of money, if you found something that can help you acquire many more customers, if you can find something that can help you spend a lot less money, earn more of this, spend less on that, you would find the time to do it. So not that it's not an excuse, it's a valid excuse, and it's actually very true. You are too busy. That's our point. Our point is trying to bring optimized, automated efficiency. If you don't have time to look at something that can potentially save you a lot of money, there's not much that we can do, but we feel that it's our fault because we haven't done a good enough job explaining to you the power of what we're trying to do, the solution, the algorithm, however you want to look at it. So I'm not suggesting that you don't have other things going on. I'm suggesting that this should be one of the things that gets considered. And if there are other things that are going on in your business that are more important or that can move the needle more than this can, you absolutely should focus on that. But to simply state, well, I have other things going on, yeah, we all do. I understand that. Everything requires behavioral change. Some things more so than others, some things less so than others. We can either go way back to the conversations of the first time you told your drivers that they're going to have onboard tablets and they all threatened to quit and now they can't live without them. The first time that you told your accountant that you're going to have automatic bill pay instead of people sending in checks. The first time you told people that they're going to have to communicate in the office via email instead of little post-it pads. Change is never fun. Mostly once the pain of the change goes by, people forgot how it was in the past and they appreciate that it's better and they appreciate that it's easier. However, specific to what we are trying to bring, the service that we're trying to bring forth, we understand that change is very scary, and change when mandated from the top could be even scarier if there's not true buy-in to the value of it. So those are all true, they're accurate, we're all scared of change. However, we're very aware of the hesitance, the resistance to change, and it's not easily done. The structure of ADEPT, and it's incredibly important when we put it together, the structure of ADEPT is that it almost exclusively runs in the background. Once it's set up and it's in place, which will take a number of hours, not days, not weeks, not months, it will take a number of hours, all the heavy lifting is on our end. Pretty much what we're doing is we're adding in an in-between piece between your processes and your back office system and the weather. We kind of stand in between. We pull all the information and we're using your information. We're using your back office system. We're using your trucks. We're using your heating degree days. We're using your customers. We do everything in the background and we feed that information directly into your back office system. I would even take it to the extreme of if you didn't know, if you weren't being asked to change your behavior, you wouldn't even realize that there was a behavioral change going on. Think about what you're saying. You're saying that there's going to be this behavioral change where drivers are still making their 20 to 25 deliveries a day. Dispatchers are still setting up routes. Customer service reps, collectors, what's different? So I would challenge that the change in behavior is a mental change early on by those who are making a decision. Once that decision is made, there's very little, if any, behavioral change. Great question. First of all, as we all know, you're not getting rid of all your trucks so quickly. But let's discuss that for a second. Part of what we're looking to do is we're trying to deal with excess capacity. The history of our industry is that we build for the busiest time of the year, being January, February, and we also build in a little bit of elbow room for whether it be a cold snap or trucks that are broken down or a holiday weekend, any of those kind of things. So we already build in a lot of excess capacity. We by no means would never entertain the notion of bringing it down to bare bones, to bare minimum. So when we suggest that you're not going to need as many trucks or not need as many drivers, we're not saying that, well, historically, this is how we've averaged. We don't have an industry of averages. We have an industry that gets averages from the extremes. The way that we built our model is we take the coldest years, we model it, and we still have enough, or we still have sufficient capacity. And there's no real secret to that. The secret is, or the obvious reason for it is that if you consider the fact, and this is a very important thing for everybody to consider, it's nodded upon, it's thought about, people talk about it, but approximately 1/3 of all deliveries that you make in the month of January are to high K-factor customers. It really is as simple as that. If you go back and you look at your deliveries, it's just true. About 1/3, in some cases it could be even higher. Propane, often it's even higher than that, but I'll be somewhat conservative, 30-35% of your deliveries. Those deliveries can almost always be made beforehand and last through the month of January. So when we look at the historical weather, the historical swings, the craziness in the marketplace, and we're looking at a January that's 5%, 10%, 20%, 30% colder than normal, we have not found an instance yet that you can stretch it to the point where you're not going to have enough. Because I would take that the next step and say, well, let's say you have 20 trucks right now, and the 20 trucks last you for a normal January, because a really cold January would require 25 or 30 trucks. Why don't you have 30 trucks all the time? The reason you don't have 30 trucks all the time is, why would I have 5 or 10 extra trucks for something that's going to happen once out of every 15 years? So in essence, what happens is the curve that we're looking at, the distribution curve, is similar in shape, little flatter at the top. It just requires less. So if your world right now, for your normal peak of 20, you would have 22 or 24 trucks, we would say, well, we think the peak's going to be 12. So we suggest that you have 14 or 16. We're always going to give you excess capacity, because we're not trying to get rid of every single truck. We're trying to get rid of the obvious extra. Nobody needs another software package. Most of our clients have more software packages than they know what to do with. They don't use them all. Most people will buy something that's new, that is different from what they have before, or is an add-on to what they have. Sometimes they will buy something that seems to be better and they won't get rid of the old one. This is not a software package. It is a process. It's a process that runs in the backyard. You will not see an interface. You're gonna see a bunch of setup information. We will set you up at the beginning, but you will have another service, but it integrates fully. It is not another software package. We all have too much software and people aren't looking at it. That is sort of our point. We're trying to take away from the need. We're trying to say that we have an engine that's built off of your information. It's an engine. It's your data. It's your history, it's your location, it's your customers. You have all the information that feeds into this engine. This engine just processes better, and because it's processing better, all on our side, it's in an individualized, secure silo. We process all of our information a couple of times a week, and we take your deliveries and we put them back into a system you're using already. If you look at, you're using Excel. Excel has add-ons. There are different types of things that you can do within Excel. You're not buying another software package, you're buying something to make Excel better. So maybe not the perfect analogy. However, we believe we have created something that goes back into your back office system. It makes the back office system, we partner with them. It's not us versus them. We're friends, we integrate with all of them. It helps you get more out of your back office system because you count it on your back office system for all this information, including telling you when you're supposed to make your deliveries. We work with the back office system, so it's not another software package. It's a better way. It turbocharges what you already have. Everybody schedules their deliveries with their back office system, and my guess would be that you haven't spoken to your back office system. We do not schedule any deliveries directly. We're not sending you a spreadsheet. We're not devising information outside of your back office system or outside of what you normally do. We only integrate with the back office system. So we are integrated with about a half a dozen back office systems now, obviously the largest ones in the propane and heating oil industries. And I would just suggest that you speak with your back office system or you speak with us. And if there is a back office system we're not integrated with, if there's an opportunity for you and an opportunity for us and an opportunity for the back office system, we will take a look at that. But all the big ones, ADEPT, Blue Cow, Cargus, AWE, a couple on the propane side. It's what we do. So we are integrated with them. Most likely they will. They will get bigger deliveries on average. This is the classic approach to promoting budgets. We've had the questions before, and there's one thing to consider globally. There's another thing to consider, which is a little bit more timely for this year, for 2020. Globally, it's customers should be on a budget. The best thing that a company can offer for cash flow and for customer retention is to have them on a budget. Actually, the three top things: you obviously want your customers on automatic delivery as opposed to on demand or will call, because then you're in control of that and you have the best opportunity to keep the customer. You also have customers on a budget plan are less likely to shop it because they're in the mode of sending you $200-300 every single month, and that takes care of the bill. They're not hit with this big bill in January, even though they are. But people aren't thinking of the bill; they're thinking of the cash flow. How much does it cost me monthly is different than what's the cost per gallon. So this screams out towards budgeting. The third is obviously pricing programs. Pricing programs control the price that someone's going to pay, and it keeps from that potential blowout. We're all sensitive to pricing. I understand that, it makes perfect sense. But the notion of charging a customer more on a delivery because they bought more gallons versus the potential savings that you have, it's a business decision that you have to make. But if that weren't important, why would you be pushing people on a budget plan in the first place? So the logic of the budget is even more so now. Take it to an extreme. Let's say you could make one delivery to every single customer and the delivery cost was free, but you'd be delivering $2,500 worth of oil. Would you do that or not? And I can hear the arguments on both sides, but I think the argument would end up being, wow, my cost of delivery is free, not 35 cents a gallon. So I just saved $350, but customers don't have all this money to pay. Let's push them on a budget. It's the same logic. It's always easier to not change. Given the choice between changing something and not changing, it's always easier not to change. Doesn't always work out in the long run. That's the move to make. So if there's no need to change, meaning that you're making enough money, you're not looking to make more money, you don't have any serious challenges with customer attrition, with competition, I'm not suggesting that you need to make more. If everything is great, wonderful, don't change it. So I understand that you might not want to change, or this isn't the way the business has run historically, or you want to make sure that things are worth it. We do our best to bring to market only things that really will move the needle. I know it's an oft-used term, but moving the needle is very, very important to us. We would never suggest something that is going to require even a little bit of effort to make an extra 1%, 2%. Most of our clients are not public companies. The extra 1% to 2% doesn't make that as much of a difference as it would to a publicly traded company. However, change is sometimes necessary. So if you don't want to change, we're not going to push you to, as long as your reason for not changing is simply, I don't want to change. If it's, I don't want to change because it'll be too much work, it won't be. If it's, I don't want to change because I'm not going to make more money, you really have to look at it differently. If it's, I don't want to change because my back office system isn't going to allow me, well, that's not the case either. If it's, I don't want to change because I already manage my Ks the right way, I'm going to say that you probably aren't managing them as well as you think. And there's a reason for that also, it should be considered. It's not really part of this question, but it's something that should be thought about, is we have a lot of clients that what they'll do is, if there's a challenge in making a delivery on a given day, there are more deliveries that need to be made than they have the capacity to make on a given day. They're going to look at the K factors and they're going to say, let me pull out the higher Ks because they're going to burn fuel more slowly, and they can wait another day or two or even a week. So we do this already. So what ends up happening inevitably is we'll have a conversation with someone that's going to say, yeah, we look at that during the winter and we see the high Ks and we push them off. And they do in those limited cases. But bear in mind two things. Number one, it's a limited number of those high Ks that they push off. The reason I know that is because it's not part and parcel of what they do every day. they actually remember the times when they did it. So it can't be part of the regular process. The second thing is, in the middle of the winter, when they're stressed, just imagine how much it would be nicer to not even have those Ks scheduled. So that's really what we're trying to do. So if you don't want to change, don't. But if you don't want to change because you don't think there's a benefit, I think you need to spend a little bit more time thinking about whether or not there will be. Then you have to decide if the benefit is worth whatever you have to put into it.